Hi, everyone, and welcome to F-Bomb Friday. I am your host, Tracy Preston, along with my husband, Todd. Hey, hon.
Hey, baby.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Let's hit it. On today's show, I'm going to tell you about the drowning pool witch trials of Mackinac Island. Witch trials began in Europe in the early 15th century and lasted until the 18th century. It was a period of intense persecution and executions, which stemmed from a confluence of factors, including the rise of diabolical witchcraft theory, is an idea that witchcraft involved a pact with the devil, which emerged in the late 15th century. This theory transformed the practice of witchcraft from a mere belief in magic to a heretical act. An influential handbook called Malleus Maleficarum, which was published in 1486, it provided a guide for identifying, interrogating, and persecuting witches. This handbook solidified the belief in diabolical witchcraft and fueled the witch hunts. Religious tensions caused by the Counter-Reformation, which was a period of Catholic resurgence, and the 30-Year War, which was a religious conflict, created an environment of fear and suspicion. This led to the persecution of those perceived as deviants. Social anxieties arising from economic hardships, social unrest, and general sense of instability during these times also contributed to the scapegoating of individuals, with the vast majority of those accused and executed being women. Those women were often unmarried, widowed, or otherwise marginalized, and that only reinforced the stereotype of witches as being evil and manipulative. Women consisted of 75 to 85% of those executed. More than 50% of witch trials occurred in Germany. The most common methods of execution included hanging, drowning, and burning, which was the most favored technique. It is estimated that there were around, get this, 40 to 50,000 executions in Europe between 1450 and 1750. Ooh, what in the actual, hun?
That's a lot. That's a lot of women.
In 300 years.
Yeah.
Unreal. It was only a matter of time before this mass hysteria made it to the shores of the New World, colonial America. You've perhaps heard of the Salem witch trials? Well, if you haven't, here's a brief summary of the events. The Salem witch trials were a series of investigation and persecutions that occurred in colonial Massachusetts. I can't say that word. I've never been able to say it. All right, so between February 1692 and May 1693, the trials began after a group of young girls claimed to have been bewitched, which led to accusations against several local women. A special court convened to hear the cases, and 19 people were executed by hanging, along with one man who was pressed to death, and several other accused left to die in jail. Among the accused were a slave, a poor beggar, and a quarrelsome woman, basically what the general public deemed to be undesirable members of the community. The Salem witch trials will forever remain a disheartening and dreadful example of injustice and intolerance in American history. But the widespread panic of witchcraft and witch trials did not halt at the colonies. In fact, there were witch trials right here in our very own Great Lake state of Michigan. Not only that, but the witch trials happened at what is now one of Michigan's most picturesque and popular tourist destinations, Mackinac Island. Now, it's spelled Mackinac, but we all pronounce it as Mackinac. Mackinac Island is a small, almost 4 square mile island located in Lake Huron between Michigan's upper and lower peninsula. In the late 1700s, the island was strategically important for its location. It was under British control and played a crucial role during the American Revolutionary War, serving as a base for British attacks. It was a busy community on the island, and with life revolving around the fur trade, with French traders, Jesuit missionaries, and Native American trappers interacting on the island. At the southern tip of Mackinac Island, located between Mission Point and what is now downtown Mackinac, there is a 20-foot drop-off cliff. This area is called the Drowning Pool, and for a horrific reason. It was here at this location that 7 women were accused of witchcraft, tortured, and executed. Were these women sacrificing animals, holding satanic rituals, or cooking children in ovens? Well, the answer is no. These women were prostitutes that worked in the brothels that sprang up on the island in the late 1700s. They were accused of witchcraft because they enticed supposedly unsuspecting, innocent, God-fearing men to their houses of wickedness and sinful pleasures. Some of the women were placed in a seat fastened to the end of a sturdy pole. The women were then dunked into the water in a seesaw-like manner. This was done over and over and deeper into the water until the women admitted to being a witch. Sadly, some of the women chose drowning rather than admitting they were witches. Others, who could not endure the torture of being dunked in the water any longer, confessed they practiced witchcraft. They were spared from being drowned, but then the women were hung to death. Other accused women had their feet tied to a heavy rock and then thrown into the pool. If they managed to float to the surface, they were witches and were hung. Those that sank to the bottom were considered innocent, but they drowned. Certainly a lose-lose situation. It is believed that this so-named drowning pool is haunted by the souls of these unfortunate, innocent victims of the ignorant and pious townfolk. Dark shapes of their spirits have been said to have been witnessed in the deep waters of the pool. Others report seeing shadows coming out of the water silently and leaving no ripples on the surface. Other witnesses claim to have seen large splashes in the water that were too big to have been made by fish. A truly tragic tale. Eventually, and thankfully, witch trials faded away by the end of the 1800s. But there's one more occurrence in Michigan we'd like to share with you. The last witch trial happened in Kalamazoo, Michigan in 1929. Eugene and Pearl Burgess invited their neighbor Etta Fairchild, who was a 75-year-old widow, over for dinner. The unsuspecting widow was unaware that the couple planned to end her life that night when she accepted their invite. Pearl Burgess claimed that the widow Fairchild was a witch that cast an evil spell on their family that caused several to pass away in the previous 2 years. The Burgess family ambushed the elderly woman at the dinner table. According to a Detroit Free Press article published in July of 1929, quote, "They clubbed her to death with a pipe and hammer, which crushed her skull, shattered both arms, and broke 9 ribs. They rolled her up in a rug and dumped her in the backyard cistern, thinking they had rid the neighborhood of a terrible witch who could cast spells on people." Well, no, hun. That right there is called first-degree murder.
Yeah, I wanted to dig more into that to see if I could find if this couple, the Burgesses, if they actually got sentenced. I'm sure that they did. It's crazy to me that happened as late as 1929.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that other shit ended in the 1800s.
Exactly.
And these people were losing their shit.
Right.
Maybe they killed their family members.
So over 200 years after the Salem witch trials, this happened.
That's bonkers.
Insane. What also is insane that I've never heard of the drowning pool witch trials of Mackinac Island, ever.
I've never heard of it either.
I stumbled across the story and I was like, that is so strange that is not more common knowledge.
Agreed. And all I can think about is being at the Grand Hotel.
Yeah.
And that very large pool right there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why, but that's what pops into my brain.
Oh, yeah. And there's even more creepy stuff about Mackinac Island, too.
Do tell.
Well, one of the things I came across was where the Grand Hotel is. It's built on a Native American burial ground. Do you think they moved the bodies?
Nope.
Nope.
Do you want to know what I'm thinking now?
Poltergeist.
Yes. I have never swam in that pool at the Grand Hotel, and now I absolutely never will.
Right.
That's creepy. Creepy.
By far, one of the creepiest scenes in the movie was the pool scene in Poltergeist. That's for sure.
Oh, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else, well, yeah, I think that takes the cake. But I'm going to say the number two spot goes to one of the videographers when he got up in the middle of the night and he grabbed that steak.
Yeah.
And then that was full of maggots, and then he was ripping his face off in the bathroom mirror.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
number 2.
That's number 2. That's pretty creepy.
Wait, but what about number 3?
Number 3?
Well, let's think about this. Where's the clown fall in line?
Oh, the clown under the bed.
Yeah.
Well, here's the good thing about that scene. Now that I grew up and saw Scary Movie 3 and saw that clown scene, it calmed me down.
Gotcha.
You know, a spoof on a movie, a scary movie, can really iron out some wrinkles for you.
Exactly. We should probably get back to the witch trials.
Sure.
We rabbit holed real quick on that one. So I just find it very intriguing that religious men will perform such horrific acts on women.
Exactly. And the fact that people so freely just discarded people that they didn't like for one reason or another or didn't agree with, they just decided, hey, we're going to kill these people. They don't fit in.
Yeah.
It's bullshit.
It is bullshit. So Hitler wasn't the first.
Hitler was not the first. By far.
By far. I mean, this is horrible.
Right.
And I'm not comparing that by any means.
Yep.
Because what that fucker did was unfathomable.
Right.
But it's the same concept, extinction of a certain... Now, these are women that they're claiming to be witches. Like, what proof did they have?
Well, it couldn't have possibly been a man's fault for anything.
Aren't there warlocks?
Oh, these women were putting spells on these guys that made them all excited sexually.
Who the hell do you think brought these prostitutes to the island?
Exactly.
The men.
Right.
Because they're horny all the times.
All the time. They want to party all the time.
See?
So.
They had wives. Probably. Right? So it's like, we got to kill these women.
Yeah.
It was witchcraft. We would have never thought to have done that.
Right.
Never.
Oh, these guys are coming home too late after soldiering.
Were there wives on the island?
They were there. The soldiers were there with their kids and their families and their wives, and it was a community. There was fur traders there. There was Frenchmen. There was Native Americans. So there was a lot of hustle and bustle. I would say, given the numbers that I saw, there was at least 600 people on the island at any given moment, within a 4-mile range too. So it's not a huge island.
No, it's not. In fact, it's, what is it, 8.8, 8.2?
8.2.
8.2. You have a hat.
Yes, I have a hat. 8.2 miles to bike ride around.
And that's just around
That's just
the
around
perimeter.
the perimeter, yeah.
Yeah, we did that.
We did do that.
That was fun.
That was a good memory.
Yeah. One of us had a bad chain.
Let's think about that memory instead of this memory of these poor innocent women being executed.
Yeah. The next time we go there, we need to find the drowning pool
Yes, we do.
and just have a moment.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well deserved.
Yes. I think I want to watch a witch movie tonight.
Blair Witch?
We could watch the Blair Witch.
Okay, I haven't watched it in a long time.
Okay.
It really scares me at the end. I don't like it. But I'm going to do it with you, hon.
All right.
Great story. Thank you so much. Never heard of it.
Never heard of it either, and you're welcome.
Yeah, good job, babe.
Ugh,
Well, hon, do you want to sign us out?
I sure do. You better lock your doors. You better lock your windows. And you might want to check under your bed.
And if I see any of those witch killing, witch burning, witch drowning sons of guns, I'm going to take a flamethrower to them.
Oh, okay.
And I'll say, this is for all those women. You sons of bitches.
You sons of bitches.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Hey, and come back and see us. Listen to us on Malice Monday.
We'll see you on Monday.